Hey everyone, welcome to today's Explainer. Today, we're zeroing in on an absolute cultural powerhouse that practically rules the street food scene. Yep, we're talking about Pani Puri. Whether you call it Golgappa, Puchka, or Pani Puri, we all know that magical feeling, right? You pop that fragile, crispy little shell into your mouth, and boom, you're instantly hit with that perfect, spicy, tangy flavor explosion. It is literally pure bliss. But here's the catch. Right beneath that irresistible crunch, there's actually a dilemma. Every single time we decide to indulge in this iconic snack, we're making a highly calculated, kind of subconscious trade-off. Our source material today gives us a really fascinating breakdown of this whole dynamic. It splits the Pani Puri experience into three distinct profiles, looking at the exact compromises we make when it comes to taste, hygiene, cost, and effort. Which leads us straight to the ultimate question. Which Pani Puri is truly the best? To figure this out, we're going to look at the source data through a bit of a choose-your-fighter framework. Every single option out there brings its own undeniable strengths to the table, but they also have some pretty glaring weaknesses. So we're going to strip away all our emotional attachment to this snack, look at the raw facts from our source text, and figure out the exact pros and cons of each choice. Get ready to evaluate your priorities and, well, pick your fighter. Okay, let's dive into this. Our very first contender is the absolute undisputed classic, the legend of the sidewalks, the street-style Pani Puri. What I absolutely love about the source text here is that it gives this variation such a distinct, unapologetically honest voice. It proudly declares, and I quote, "Hey, I am the street-style Pani Puri. I have a lot of taste, but I am not made with cleanliness." It's incredibly direct, isn't it? Almost arrogant, but in the best possible way. It knows exactly what immense value it brings to your taste buds, and it is 100% transparent about what it compromises behind the scenes. So, let's break down that opening statement to really understand the core dynamic at play. On one hand, we have the ultimate draw, high taste. That unmatched, intense, raw, street-level flavor is the primary selling point. But it's locked in a direct conflict with low hygiene. The source explicitly admits that this version is simply not made cleanly. So the really crucial takeaway here is that when you choose the street cart, you are actively calculating a risk. You are willingly, consciously prioritizing flavor over sanitation. It's basically a culinary game of roulette, and millions of focused snackers play it every single day without even batting an eye. All right, let's move on to our next option and see how this builds. Enter our second contender, the hotel-style Pani Puri. Once again, the source material personifies this version with a really distinct, almost aggressive level of self-awareness. It confidently states, hey, I am the hotel-style Pani Puri. I am made with cleanliness. That's why they're able to loot money from you. Notice something missing there? It doesn't even bother trying to claim it tastes better than the street version. Instead, it completely flips the script on that previous trade-off we just analyzed. Now, what's really fascinating about this dynamic is how that hygiene factor is explicitly weaponized. Cleanliness is now the premium feature you're purchasing. You're buying it, so you don't have to take a gamble on the street, right? You're paying for a controlled, sanitized environment. But what about the cost? Well, you are essentially being looted. You're paying a massive premium purely to secure peace of mind for your digestion. The cleanliness is the exact, frankly unapologetic justification used to charge that exorbitant price. And that brings us to our third and final contender, the highly misunderstood homemade Pani Puri. Now, the source highlights a very, very different kind of struggle here. It states, hey, I am the homemade Pani Puri, people consider me a hassle and don't make me, but I am #1 in quality. Unlike those first two contenders, this version isn't fighting a turf war between hygiene and financial cost. No, it's fighting a battle of human motivation. It guarantees the absolute best possible outcome, but man, it suffers from a severe image problem when it comes to the sheer physical demand it places on the cook. As we break down this final trade-off, the whole dynamic becomes crystal clear. Because it's homemade, you control the entire environment. You control the freshness of the ingredients, the exact flavor profile, and that guarantees #1 quality. It is undeniably the purest form of the snack. But the massive barrier to entry? The sheer hassle, the preparation effort. The source keenly points out that people simply avoid making it because of the mountain of work involved. So the trade-off shifts entirely to personal labor. You are literally trading your own time and your own energy in exchange for uncompromising top-tier quality. And this brilliantly illustrates the entire culinary landscape of this beloved dish in one single structured view. We've synthesized the source data into a comparison matrix so you can clearly see this inescapable triangle of compromises. The street gives you incredible taste, but you gotta accept unclean preparation. The hotel guarantees high hygiene, but, well, it loots your wallet. And homemade delivers #1 quality, but demands way too much hassle. You simply cannot have all the benefits without taking on at least one major defining drawback. It's basically a zero-sum game of snacking. This structural breakdown really forces us to look hard at our own decision-making process the next time that craving hits, doesn't it? You now have the data clearly mapped out, and you understand the exact compromises each option demands. So I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. Based on the data we've explored today, which trade-off are you personally willing to accept for your next plate? Are you a total risk taker for ultimate taste? Are you a premium payer for absolute peace of mind? Or are you willing to put in the hassle for #1 quality? Think about your own priority matrix. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. And remember, always keep analyzing the fascinating data behind your everyday choices.